Good morning. Let's get started in a few minutes. What is this? Where is my remote? Good morning. Okay, I'm just on. Thanks a lot. It's in actually my brother asked me to get this hairstyle. He never liked my hairs. He was like, what kind of hairstyle are you following? So yeah, there's a barber in Hyderabad. I got it from Hyderabad. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Vivek. So let's wait for a few minutes. Let's everyone to join. How many of you are in the area of India where it's very cold right now? Like Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan? H. Ankit, Kushal, Aradhya. Yeah. Thank you, Kushal. Thank you for the compliment. Yeah. Uh, yes. Himachal Pradesh. Oh my God, Ankit, how is the weather in Himachal Pradesh? Which part of Himachal Pradesh are you from, Ankit? Ankit Kumar. Shimla is 3 hours from. Oh my God, how is the weather? I mean, right now it will be so cold there. I was I was thinking of visiting Himachal Pradesh this time. This year, Delhi is colder than Shimla. Oh, is that so? Oh, that's interesting. Why is that so? Like due to pollution, fog, or something, or I don't know. Ideally, Shimla should be colder. Okay, it was a newspaper. Hyderabad is experiencing some. That is true, Ekta. Ekta, you had a issue that was not resolved. Can you talk about it? Do you want to unmute? Do you want to unmute yourself? I think I can. We have few minutes before everyone joins, so maybe I can just talk to you. Saturday classes are more laid back because there are very few students, so I can just so 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 I can spend a lot of time discussing doubts. But then what happens is there are so many students, so I have to move also. I have to move the class also. So, but on Saturday, this is the special class because there are not that many students, so I can just spend more time on individual doubts. Simla is 6. Where I live, it is 10 degree. Oh my God. Yes. Uh yeah. I'll unmute Ekta. Yes, Ekta.
Hello.
Hello. Just give me one.
Yeah, am I
Yeah.
audible? Sure, sure.
Yes, you're audible. You're audible. Tell me.
So, sir, actually, I couldn't attend the last few classes,
Hmm.
and but I watched some recordings, not all of it. Like my notification service app is in a separate folder, but like it's in parallel with the CRM app. So, notification service app is like running like independently. It's running fine, but from the class where we integrated both these apps, there is some sort of, I don't know, like I'm missing on some point, because whenever I try to run both of them, so both the servers should be like running parallelly, right? Like, yeah. So first I run this notification service. Then on port 3000, I run the CRM app. but it always says that the recipient is not there is no recipient. And you know what happened in the from field? I had provided my email address, and it too I also gave engineers and customer some imaginary, some sample email IDs. So, like in my inbox, there are like hundreds of unsent mail. It says that this service, like we cannot find this mail address, and it's written in some other language. And for a second, I thought that, oh my god, is my like email ID hacked or something? So because I kept that server running, this notification service, I just I did not shut down my laptop. This was running the whole night, I guess. So something weird happened.
Okay. So which port is the notification service running on?
Sir, the notification service runs on 5000, port 5000.
Port 5000. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is the HTTP client set up properly? Have you seen
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
in
Like
the
I also.
in the HTTP client that is set up in the CRM backend? Have you set up it properly? Have you checked the code in that?
Yes, sir. Like it's pretty basic. Like yeah, it's running on port 3000. So it always ran like properly only. But I don't know why. I am guessing like is it due to some folder hierarchy? Because yours is so like how do you create your folders? Like 12 like do you clone it from GitHub and again give it some other name?
What do you?
Because every time you push.
No. So the way I create is so the first folder that I created was an empty folder.
Hmm.
Okay. And in that
Yes.
folder, I just do npm init, and that
Hmm.
creates the basic structure. That
Yeah.
was the first folder. Okay.
Okay.
So when I
Hmm.
was creating notification service, I did the same process. I did npm init. It created a bare basic folder, and then I started building on top of it. Okay.
Okay.
As long as there will not be much difference if these are two different folders. There will be a folder for notification,
Hmm.
and there will be a folder for
CRM.
CRM. Okay. That should not be the problem. Uh, Notification service will be running on a port on your computer. Let's say it is running on 5000.
Huh.
So, first thing you need to check is this service listening properly? Try to go to Postman and try to see when you run both the services in parallel, can you send requests to the notification service?
Yes, so like I tried creating some notifications manually, like we did in that notification service class, and it was okay. Like
It was working. So
it
you
was
say,
working fine. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
it is working. So this is first place where code can break. Okay.
Okay.
Second
Yeah.
place where code can break is in the CRM app, there is something called as notification client.
Hmm.
Have you coded this part up?
Yes,
Notification
sir.
client.
Like also, checked it twice or thrice from your like GitHub
Okay.
repo.
Okay.
I was comparing each and every line.
Okay. Notification client. Uh, so uh, notification client should be coded properly because this is the place from where which will be like Postman for CRM app. Okay.
The notification client.
The notification client is the coded version of like coding version of Postman.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Whatever you can do with Postman can be done with notification client.
Right, sir.
Now, uh, then what is the error you are getting? Can you read it out?
Sure, sure, sir. Just give me a second, so I'll run both, like
Yeah. Yeah.
both.
Yeah. So one thing that I want you to develop as a habit is being able to talk about your code. Like sometimes you feel like it is easier to share the screen and you know show the code and show the errors and then work from there. Uh, but uh, but what I want you to do is want you to I want you to develop some kind of vocabulary about the whole thing. Okay. So because when
Yes,
you
sir.
are in industry or when you meet the client, you will have to talk about the code. You cannot bring the code base to them. You will just have presentation or some things. So yeah. So these processes where I'm asking you to explain your code is where you can practice that. Okay.
Right. So I'm guessing like there is some glitch in the code itself because like rest all are working fine. Like I'm getting the output in the terminal because I'm consoling some of the parts.
Yeah.
So it says that recipient is not found. I think it is some very silly mistake. But since I missed the live classes, I was only watching recordings.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
okay. That's okay.
huh.
That's okay. What is the error you are getting? Can you read it out?
Sure. I think in the notification client itself, we are printing the count of notification and everything, right?
No, not in notification
No,
client.
okay.
Okay, let me show you
Then,
my code. Just give me 1 second.
so
So
I'll.
yeah, so this is the code. This is the CRM app. There is a utility called as notification client. Okay,
Yes,
this is a simple utility which
yes.
can create a post to whatever local host your notification server is running. Make sure that this URL is proper. Like you should have 500, 5,000 here if you're running it on 5,000.
Yes, sir. Like I copied it from the route folder from the notification service itself. So
Okay.
I checked it, but don't know what's going wrong. So, sir, this folder is like this file is intact there. I
Okay.
compared. There is this
So
crons folder in the notification service app. I think over there we are printing a message.
so
Yeah, cron.js.
yeah, okay.
Huh,
So
here we are printing.
yeah,
So
so
like,
yeah,
hmm,
cron.js. Let's look at this one. Okay.
yes.
So what is happening is no. So what you need to do is you need to check if you need to go one step at a time. Don't try to jump here
Hmm,
and there. The flow starts from notification client. Okay, from
okay.
notification client you can send a request to your whatever notification service is running. Try to send a dummy request. How do you create a dummy request? Right here. Uh, right here. So just give me 1 second. Let me call this exports dot. I don't want to call it anything. Okay. So here, what you're going to do, module dot exports and pass some values here. Okay. So I can pass 1, 2, 3
Hmm.
and maybe a subject which is hello, uh, and maybe a content which is also test. Email IDs maybe pass Anshul at Gmail, gmail.com, and requester maybe ekta at gmail.com. Okay. Write this
Yes.
kind of a line here and test if your client is working. Don't do anything else. Run your CRM app. Don't run your CRM app. Just run your notification
Notification.
service and then come to this place. Okay. Yeah, come to this place. And what you need to do is go to this folder. So I'll just go to this folder CD 15, and in this folder you can go to, you can just do node utils, and then you can run notification client. Once you run this file, this will go. Okay.
Okay.
uh, this this will go. Okay. And now once you send it to the server, yeah, it will say that throw error unhandled, which is cannot connect, connection refused on this because the service is not running. Okay.
Okay.
So now I have a clear handle over whether my notification client, this error is coming. You can read this error. It says that service is not running. Okay,
Okay,
connection
sorry.
refused. Can you run similar line of code in your notification client
Sure, sir.
instance?
Sure. I'll
Like,
put that dummy request there.
yeah, please put a dummy request, and that will give you a handle over whether your notification client is working or not. It looks like it is correct, but try to see if it is working. Once that is
Yes.
working, then you can work for the other cases. You can go to the controllers, and then you can see where you are calling the notification client. So, for example, this controller has, uh, let me see, or not auth controller, ticket controller. Ticket controller has notification client as send email.
Yeah.
And now this
Okay.
send email is being called at two places. uh, Later on you can do that. You don't jump into this place right now. Try to work from the notification client itself and see if
Okay.
this is working properly. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I'll just.
You understand the overall, if you understand the overall setup, then it will be very easy to debug. because
Yes, so like,
because the debugging process is, if you know the flow of data, data starts from CRM controller. Okay,
yeah.
controller, it goes to something called as notification service, notification client. From notification client, it goes to the which uh, port on which your notification service is listening. Okay, notification service, it basically goes to the router of notification service. From
Yeah.
notification service router, it goes to the notification
Controller.
controller, and from the controller it goes to the model, and from the model it goes to cron job, keeps on checking the model again and again. So this is the
Yeah.
flow. Now what you're saying, when you say that your notification service is working fine, you're saying this whole part is working fine, and I take your word on that. Like, I have to take your word that this part is working. Okay, now
Yes, sir.
where can error occur? You also know that CRM controller is working, or maybe it's not working, you don't care. The key place where you have to check is from this notification client to this server, are the requests going properly? That's all.
Okay, sir.
This is the
Okay.
place where error can occur. Okay, that's how
So
you're.
the
So try to think it like a big machine that you're working on, and try to pinpoint where the error might be occurring. Okay.
yes, sir. So I think there is some like there's either a spelling mistake, like
Yeah, yeah,
sometime somewhere I'm giving a camel case, or somewhere I'm just giving some capital
yeah, yeah.
words. So I think that could be the case, and it has happened a lot of times with me. So
No
I
worries.
just I'll just try to debug. I'll compare
Yeah,
each and go through each and every
yeah.
line.
The
It is
best.
very silly,
Yeah,
huh?
that's okay. The best way to debug is not to create errors in the first place.
Yes, sir, right.
No worries.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Ekta, I hope this was helpful. You can
Yes.
also in the next class, if try to do it. If not, you can just, you have my mobile number. You can just give me a video call and we'll figure it out.
Sure, sir. So,
Okay.
so one last thing,
Hmm.
like I tried to push both these for like notification service and CRM app on the on GitHub. The notification service got pushed, but there is some problem with pushing this. Like I think since it is kind of dependent on this notification service, so
You have created a repository inside a repository, or is it?
no, sir, no, sir, no, sir. Like, see, I'll tell you. There is one of a parent folder called CRM application,
Okay.
and within that, I have four folders. One
Okay.
is CRM app,
Okay.
one is our notification service, one is
Hmm.
practice, and one is testing CRM. So let's leave practice and testing CRM. I haven't done anything with these two. So
Okay.
I have pushed a notification service, and yeah,
So you this
it got
this is the Git repository,
yes, sir.
and this is a Git repo.
Two separate Git repositories.
Okay. And is this also a Git
Yeah.
repo?
Hmm.
Hmm?
No, sir, not the parent one.
So what I
No, sir,
want you
not
to
that
do,
one.
what I
These
want.
two.
Okay. Okay. That's okay. Yeah. So when you push CRM app, what is the error you are getting?
Sir, I think there is some problem with my internet, or is it your side?
What happened? I'm able to hear you. What happened?
No, sir. Now I'm able to hear you.
Okay.
It got
Yeah.
it
What was
froze for a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the CRM app, when you go do Git push in CRM app? What is the error you are getting?
Sir, I think your video is stuck.
Is my video stuck, students? Hello? Okay. No, 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 it's not stuck. Ekta?
Yes, sir. Now it's fine.
Okay. What is the error you are getting when you do git push?
So one second. I'll try doing it again. So just one second.
Sure.
Failed to push some reference to this address. Updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. This is usually caused by another repository pushing to the same reference. So
Oh,
wait, let me check. Yeah.
okay. So you are keeping a single repository on the, so you have a single repository which is pointed from both of them on GitHub. I
So
think that,
I'll check
yeah.
because I remember like yesterday itself. I yes, so there are two separate repositories,
Okay,
like
that.
notifications service.
Mm, okay,
So
let me see.
like
GitHub repository. How do I copy this? Ekta 30. Okay, I'll just go to
yes,
insert out. Mm, Git GitHub. Let me share my screen first. And those of you who are thinking this is a wastage of time, your time, because it's not your error, try to spend some more time on thinking how you can learn this from other people's error. So this is Ekta 30.
yes, that one.
Okay, sure. So you have Ekta 30. This is IPython notebook. All just these are just where is the repository? View GitHub profile. Okay, repositories. And in this you have mm, notification service app and CRM app. Okay, seems good. Notification service app contains node modules, etc., etc. Branches. This is the main branch. Okay, and you have CRM app. This has
Just one branch.
yeah, what's hmm, branches issues. Seems to be correct. I don't see why it is not coming.
So, like as much as I know, after building the notification service app in the CRM app, we have made only two changes. The first one is in controllers, we are doing send email,
Yeah,
and the second one is like in the UTs folder, we have created a notification client. So I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
think other than that we have made any changes in the routes or middleware.
yeah. I mean, that should not be. There's some problem with the Git. It's not the problem with the CRM app as such. Some Git setting has a problem on your computer. That's my hunch.
So I am thinking like why not build, like make another repository and try to push it in that
Yeah,
way.
that's okay. That's completely fine.
So I'll do that, and I'll also check for that error. Why is it
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
no
yeah. Yeah,
recipients
try to
for?
understand what that error means. Okay.
So I'll try to trace it down. Okay, thank you so much,
Sure,
sir. I think
sure.
we should start with the class.
Sure. Okay. I
Everyone.
hope this was a helpful
Yes, sir. Thank
session
you so
for
much.
everyone. Not just Ekta, but everyone. Try to learn how. Ekta was very good at explaining what are the errors she was facing. Many of the times, it's It's half of the problem solved if you can address, if you can talk about your error. So now I want to talk about one thing that I can. Okay, Ikta, probably you have muted. I want to talk about this called. Have you heard about this thing coding duck? Have you ever heard about this concept of coding duck?
So like you're asking everyone in general?
Yeah, yeah. I cannot unmute. I cannot mute you, Ekta. So yeah,
Okay, so I'll just
yeah. So you can yeah. So have you heard about coding duck? Uh, okay. So this is a practice. This is like a ritual. This is an initiation ritual that many companies have. So when you join them, they give you a duck, a toy duck, which is a small duck of this size. I also have that one duck, but it's in Hyderabad. I got it in one of my companies. So what happened was, and you keep it on your desk, and whenever you face a error, thank you. Whenever you face an error, you try to explain that error to the duck, and it is found that 80% of the errors go away if you just talk to the duck. If you can explain the error to the duck, okay. That is called as coding duck. It's a duck. It's a small toy uh which you can explain things. Okay. Why duck? Because it's a because if it was lion, you will get scared and you will not explain. I don't know. It is just a, how rituals are. There's not reasonable reasonable assumption why they are there. Maybe the first coder decided to go with duck, and since then everyone has been going with ducks. So yeah. So in many companies, when you go and join, the first thing they give you is the coding duck, so that it saves everyone's time. You have to explain it to the duck before explaining. How duck will solve the error? Just like talking to yourself in front of him. A duck, a duck, a duck does not do anything. Duck just sits there, and you have to. So suppose I have this small, this one I got from Shimla. So I have this small creature on my computer, on my desk, and if I see a error, I try to explain it to somebody else. When you're talking to yourself, it's very difficult to explain coding errors. But when you talk to a third party, it's much easier to explain and be reasonable. So that's what this concept of coding duck is about. Duck does not ask a question. It is just a toy. You just tell it's there. It's a practice for better explanation. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's what it is all about. Explain it to some creature. And so this is also one lesson in public speaking. There was this orator who was very shy of speaking to people, and he did all kinds of he enrolled in all kinds of programs, and he was not able to get the confidence. But one day he just went to a and we will tell him the error, and we'll explain in clear terms what are the error. And 90% of the times we will get the solution on our own. We'll understand where the solution might be from. Okay. So it's just the process of vocalizing your code. Okay. Putting it in words. Many of the times it's so abstract, it's all in your head, and you are not able to solve the problem. But if you explain it to a duck, for example, you can understand where you are going wrong. What is the problem in your thinking? So there was this orator, and he was not able to speak in public. He had a big fear of public speaking. So what he did was he went to a small graveyard or some place, and there were a lot of stones there lying there. It was like a bunch of stones, and he started to speak to the stones. Okay. And he was making speeches to the stones. After making 4 or 5 speeches to the stones, he got some confidence, and later on he became a very good orator because he was able to whenever he went in front of audience, he was thinking he is speaking to stones, and suddenly he was a very good orator. Okay. So that's the concept of speaking to inanimate objects. Okay, the brain ideally does not understand that you are speaking to an inanimate object, and that can be helpful. Okay, so let's start the class. Mm, so first thing first, I'll create another folder, which is a very good practice. I feel very uh, I feel very good about the fact that I create a folder in every class. It's such a clean design. So I just go here and I copy this folder and I paste it outside. Okay, I have a question. How many of you like these classes more than the DSA classes? Is there somebody who is liking these classes more than the DSA classes? Avijit is not liking this. Gauri, Ekta, Aradhya. Yes. I've never taught these classes before, but I am somehow enjoying this because we are getting some in DSA. There is always a feeling that we are not getting any real work done. Uh, this class gives us a feeling that we can do some real applicable work. So that's where I like this. But yeah, it's just. But yeah, there is a submit button. That is true. But again, like there is a submit button, but and many times we feel like, yeah, we are not doing any work. Like we are just so for like 2 3 years in my teaching career, I was just thinking people are paying me for playing around with concepts. There was no real work I was doing, but here I'm thinking, okay, I'm at least doing some real work. Okay, anyways, so okay, and this is easier to understand. Like this is more human part of computer science, I would say, because in DSA it is very ruthless. The concepts are sometimes so difficult that you know you need a certain amount of IQ to understand those concepts. But here it is still human. People, I mean, normal people can code it up. You don't have to be a intellectual giant to solve the problems. Yeah, created the folder for lecture 16. Some commit domain. I like this UI better than. Uh, I would ideally want to switch to GitHub CLI, but I like this UI better than. Uh, I'm still not. I'm still not at a level where I can do the GitHub thing using the CLI or using the command line. Okay, so I prefer this UI. Ideally, in few years or maybe few months, I will be at a place where I can directly do from CLI. But for the time being, I'll just go with GitHub Desktop. Okay. Are you using Windows 11? Yes, I'm using Windows 11, and I am very ashamed of that fact. Uh, I will be switching to. I'm getting a new laptop, so I will be switching to Debian very soon. Um, yeah. Mhm. Please guide me to do the same. Yes, I'll definitely. Once I do, I'll share some resources with the class on. Maybe I'll ask. but I don't know how I will take that class. uh, I'm not sure how I will take a class, but I ideally want to take a class where I help you um, set up a machine where you are with Linux, and I want to initialize you all to Linux development, which is a totally different place to develop. Like you will be 10x better at coding just by switching to Linux and understanding how that computer works. Okay, so yeah, but I don't know how I will take that class. I have to think about this. I can share some resources. Maybe on Tuesday. No, taking an extra class is not a problem. Taking the key thing is maybe I can restructure one of the classes. That's not a problem. The problem is uh, how will we? How am I? So if we were in a offline class in a classroom, I would have walked around and help you out with the errors that you're facing while you're installing the Linux. But I don't know how I will help in this setting, because most of you will have a single computer which will be booting through the process, and I don't know how I will help you out with that process. So yeah, hmm, I'm still to think about that part. Hmm. Mhm. Okay, so today we are going to talk about few things. Let me set that agenda. Mm. First thing that I'm thinking of talking about is, of course, the user controller test. There's one find all operation which is missing. Let me put the mic close to my mouth. There's one find all operation which is missing. I will do that, and we'll also have a ticket controller. There are we have some ticket controller tests that we have to write. I'll write that down, and then I also want to do integration tests. So there's a lot of things that I want to cover in today's class. I don't know how much I will be able to do, but uh, so in the interest of time, would you mind if I just copy paste the code for find all and explain it? The code is almost same. Yes, because it's very repetitive. So I'll just copy paste the code and I'll explain the code. Let's see if we can make sense of it. So here's the code. Uh, um, so these are the 10 test cases that are there in find all. We have 5 test cases for each of the working conditions. So if I open the controller for user and I look at find all, there are 5 lines that are happening: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I want to test the failure and the success condition in all 5 of them, and that's all I'm doing here. I have should pass, which is should pass for all, should pass with user status, should pass with user type, should pass with user type and status, should pass with name. So all 5 cases are covered in the 8 test cases that I am writing. Similarly, for each one of these, I have a fail condition. Okay. And these are the 5 fail conditions that I have. Let's look at one should pass. How should pass? So I'm doing a find all. In the find operation, I'm returning the payload that I have, and I'm just um, the query is an empty object, of course, and this query is the empty object, which is basically telling what all filters you are putting. And then what you do is you do the basic operations. You check that user spy has been called, you check that the status is 200, and that the send value is this. So very simple, should pass is there. If I look at, no, now keep this in mind. Let me put this in the next line. Keep this code in mind. Okay, I can, yeah, keep this code in mind, and let's look at how will should fail look like. Should fail is also a similar code, but this time I'm sending an error. Okay, find is sending an error, and uh, whenever there is an error, you should get 500 as the status, and some internal error occurred is the message you should get. Let me see if this is the same message I am also sending. Some internal error occurred. Yes. So this is correct. So that's how the fail looks like. And now similarly, we'll have all the other options. The only thing that will change in all other options is this line, request.query. Okay. What will happen in the case of user status? You will have a field called as user status, and rest of the code will remain same. So look at this code again. You are defining a spy on user find, and you are just seeing if it is giving you the right answer. Here you are going to have a query which says I'm looking for the person who are approved. Rest of the code stays the same. You can match the code also. It is exactly the same. You're just having a query which is the status is approved. Similarly, there is user type, and in this case you will have a user type as the query. Are you following? So you have a user type as the query, and rest of the code remains the same. You pass a user type, and everything else is same. Okay. Finally, you have user type and status. Again, the overall structure is same. User type and status. And in user type and status, you will send the user type and user status. Like this. Save it and find all. You call the find all operation. It is the same item that you are getting all the time, and then you have this, and by name is in query you will write the name, whatever name you have given you will write that. And and the same is, and the reverse of this is also going to be in the case of in the case of fail. In each of these fail cases, the only difference is going to be in this line where you are sending a uh, promise of reject new error. Okay, so that's how these fail will be it. So if you look at the fail with user type and you compare it with fail with user type, let's compare it. So fail with user type and compare it with, not should fail, compare it with user type. um Look at these two codes. This is first code. I wish I can combine them into one, or maybe I can open it. Just give me one. Yeah, that is what I was thinking. Split on the right. Okay, I'll remove this, and I'll move this. Should fail on type, should pass on type, and should fail on type. Look at these two codes. I want to somehow, would you mind if I would you mind if I just keep the font a little small, because otherwise I'll not be able to show. If I can reduce the font, it is. I somehow want to remove this minimap. I don't want to see. Okay. User type failed with user type, pass with user type. Word wrap. Word wrap will mess up the whole experience. Just give me 1 second. This should be okay. This is not the best solution, but it is okay. Annoying that. Oh, can we remove that annoying that thing? What is that? Which it's annoying that thing? The mini map. Are you there? Yeah, I have removed the mini map. I also want to remove the 9 numbers. Let me see if I can remove that. Where is view? I'll remove the line numbers for editor layout. No, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, you can remove that. I also come to know about it right now only. Okay, the only difference between these two codes, like this is exactly the same. This line is different. These two lines are different because you are getting a separate error, but rest of the code is same. This is the result that you are getting. These two lines are different because the result you are getting is different, and the request you are sending is exactly the same in both the cases. The only difference is the spy on is different. In the first case, when the case is passing, the spy on is actually sending a valid payload, whereas in the case where user spy is failing, you are sending an error. And that is, if you can code one of these, then all the others you can easily code. Okay, there's a lot of code duplication that people are doing in test cases. I typically don't like that, but yeah, I don't like this. But if you don't do duplication, you will end up writing the controller again. So we don't do that. Ideally we can have the same piece of code written across multiple instances. That will clean up the code. But um yeah, it can clean up the code, but I'm not sure whether that will be a good design principle. Anyways, let me save this. So that's how you can write the will pass. That's how you can write the uh, find all describe. Okay. Now I'll come back to this. I'll increase the font size and I'll open the chat window. I'll hide this. This one should be hidden. And right now I should be in. Look, wait a second. I'll do cd dot dot. I want to go to 16. No, no, no. 16. Testing CRM. And in this I can just do npm. First of all, I have to do npm install. Mm, and then I can do npm test. Let's see these test cases are passing also. 5 test cases failed. Okay, these are the 5 test cases which failed. Let's see why they are failing. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm writing this error thing wrong. This this error thing is wrong. This should be log. So I'll just come. This should be log, and this should be log, and this should be log. This should be log. This should be log. Am I writing error somewhere else? Console.log. So I'll save this and I'll just run the code again. Mm, why is this failing? should fail with user type and status. For each. Oh, I got this. You know why this is error is occurring again? This is occurring again because all these cases, uh, in all these cases, we are not waiting for user. We are sending the user without this one. So what you need to do is you need to copy this. You need to uh, control X this, and you need to paste it here. Similarly, here also, you need to control X this, and you need to paste it here. Control X it, and paste it here, and you need to control X this, paste it here, and control X this, and paste it here. Save this and run it one more time. Hmm. Why is this failing? Uh, Failed with name, failed with user type, and user response. This is failing in each of them. Should fail in user type. First of all, let me check if I'm doing it in the right folder. I'm doing it in the right folder. And I have to come here and write something like users, if users, then only run this code. Yeah. Means that if user is undefined, which is the case when there's an error, if the user is undefined, we don't want to run this. And these are the errors that you have to catch once you will catch once you write the test cases. Yeah, now everything is passing. The reason why this was occurring was, uh, look at the code. For example, fetch by status. I defined a I defined a user and there was an error. So I get into the catch block. I send back the result, and then I send an undefined value back. Okay, which is I'm not sending anything. Once I don't send anything, this line of code was still running, and it sent a undefined value for the user to be given as the user response, which is not acceptable. So what happens is the code fails. So that's do you understand what happened? There were a couple of mistakes in the code. Yes, Aradhya, I'll explain it one more time. First mistake was this return user was coming after the catch block. So what is the difference between the previous code and this code? Can you guess it? What is the difference between the two uses? Let me show it to you. I think this is a mistake that you might be making sometime. So uh, let me create a test file. Let me create a random utility. Let me just write as random.js. And in this utility, if catch block execute, then no, the code will move forward with the catch block. If you go into the catch block, you will do this and then you will move forward after the catch block. Yeah. So no, it's not like it's not like you are waiting for the error to occur. You are still sending the value even when the error occurred. Yeah, that's the better way of looking at it. Okay. So it's not like if catch block occurs, you come out of the code itself. So I'll show it to you. So for example, try. I'll define a function. Let's call it const random. This is a async function. Sync function from empty to this one. In this, I do try. I'll define a let user outside. Let user, and user is equal to await. Let's call it users. Um, await user dot, no, not this one. User, what are the options? No, I'll come here and write const user is equal to require dot require models slash user model. Okay. Now what you can do is in the user dot find, you can find everything. Okay. This is the operation you have. And there's a catch block or an error. You should get an error. Uh, let's have the error as console.log error. And then what you have is return users. Okay. Now let's do uh, now let's do test case. So console.log random. Let me call the random function. And right now uh, I'm not connected to the server. With the server is not running actually. So if I just save this and if I run, I come here and no, control C this one. Yes. I'll just close this part. Um, why is my cursor not coming? Anyways, I'll just do node util random. I run this random. Sorry, I'll just do it like this. Random dot then console dot log. I save this and I come here and run it one more time. Let's see what it is returning. Okay, so let me define user as abc. Save it. Let me run one more time. Why is this not running it? Let me do console.log users. It got into catch block. Mm, no, no, I'm not able to understand. Okay, let me start from the starting. Let me come here and do console.log users. Let me do this simple thing. ABC is printed. So we are in the right trajectory. Now I copy this. Hmm, Wait, user not fine. Hmm, I'll just write another promise. The user is not running right now. So ideally you should give an error. I'll just write it like await promise dot resolve. Check. Mm, skip this. Okay. See what happened? Let me remove this. My user gave an error. Let me run this one more time. Don't worry about the user thing, but let me save this. Okay. I created a user ABC. I changed it value to a error. This threw an error. I printed the error in console.log and then I console log the user. Let me remove this also. Save it. And what value is returned by this asynchronous function? Whatever value was there before the try catch block. Do you see that? Which is ABC. Okay. So it is as if this try catch block was not even present. Aradhya, does that make sense? Aradhya, does this code make sense? You have a network issue? Okay, try to look at this code once. Abhijit, are you there in the class? I think yesterday you were asking this question. I Yes. Do you understand what is happening in this code, and can you relate it to the user controller that we have? You cannot relate it to user controller. Look at the user controller. If I write this return user outside this catch block, what am I essentially returning? I'm returning undefined, because that was the, if there is an error in user.find, that I'm returning whatever was the value before the try block. Does that make sense? Yeah, it is returning. Yes. So what you need to do is you need to put this inside the try block so that this only gets executed when the user is found. So I show it to you now in this random. So I don't want to return what was the initial value. So I cut from here, and yeah, we were doing right before. Yes. And we are putting it here. And now if there is an error, instead of doing console.log, I can just return the error. See what is going to happen now. Now it is not going to print ABC. it is going to print error, because error is what you are returning. If instead of reject I create resolve, and inside the resolve I have a function, I can resolve to any value. Let's say resolve it to user values. Now what can you guess what will be the output, Aradhya? What will be the output if I run the code? Yes, exactly. Very good. Now you got it. ABC is the output. So that is what I wanted you to understand out of this controller. That was the wrong programming that I was doing. Okay. So now all our test cases are passing. Vivek, are you following? Are you able to follow? Okay. So one of the coding principles that people follow is to have a, so if you are coding in Python, people or even in when you're coding in JavaScript, what you can do is you can keep a small window of just click F11. No, what is that? Inspect. Just keep a console open all the time whenever you're coding in JavaScript, and keep on testing your assumptions about the code. Try to run these kind of experiments on the code and try to test your assumptions. Okay. So there are three windows that you necessarily want to be open all the time when you're coding. First is, of course, the code window in which you're coding. Second is a window where you have a console so you can test small snippets of codes. And third is a terminal. A terminal should always be open so you can uh, directly run the big code. Okay. So that was the find all uh, find all test case. Now let's look at last part of this class, which is no, second last part. Then there will be routers, there will be integration tests that we have to do. We'll go into integration tests, but let's spend some time looking at the test cases for ticket controller. So ticket controller test cases for this one. Let me write it as ticket dot controller dot test dot js. How does this look like? So for all function return user should come in try block, right? Yes, yes, exactly, Hariharan. It should come in the try block. Mhm. Let's look at the boilerplate, which is mock request, comma mock response. These things should be equal to require interceptor. And there are a couple of functions that we need. Let me write all of them. You need create ticket, you need get all tickets, you need get one ticket, and update. And I'll just put a equal to in the next line. I'll require, for this I'll require controller slash, no, not this one, dot controllers slash ticket controller. Get all the functions from the ticket controller. Let me check if these are the names in the ticket controller. First is create ticket. Second is can. No, can update is not an export. Update ticket, get all ticket, get one ticket. Okay, these are the four functions. Create ticket, update ticket, get all ticket, get one ticket. Create ticket, get all ticket, get one ticket, and update ticket. Okay, we are good. Let me check user controller once. Okay. Okay. So we need two more things. First is the user, which is require dot slash models slash ticket dot model. First is this one. Second is const ticket, which require dot slash models slash user model. We okay. So I did something wrong. I should call this as the user, and I should call this as the ticket. Okay. And the next step would be create the payload. I'm not going to write the payload. Uh, I'm not going to write the payload by hand. I'll just paste it because that will save some time. It's a basic piece of code, so I don't see any reason for typing it. You have a user test payload, which is similar to the user test payload we have for user controller test. This test payload, you remember? We have written a test payload here. It is the exact same test payload we have in this. Second, we have ticket create test payload, which creates a ticket. Okay, a simple test payload for ticket create. When you are creating a new ticket, what all values you should send. There's a ticket test payload, which is basically what is the payload that comes back to you when you test for a ticket. Okay, so it has a save button which saves it. Uh, I mean, there is a save button in the ticket which helps you in um, updating the ticket. Okay, so those are the payloads. Now we are going to take a short break, and once we are back from the break, uh, we will discuss the ticket controller test, and we'll do some not getting these three payload. Why three? Hariharan, so you have three things. You have a user model, you have a ticket model, and you have a ticket save model. Yeah, I'm going to push the code. Once I'm back from the break, I'll explain it to you in more detail, Hariharan. But basically, the idea is you have different use cases and you have payload for all of them. Once you see the use cases, it will become clear. Let me push the changes. Added the code for find all, commit to main, and push origin. Okay. So break till 36. Break till 11:36 a.m. See you at the end of the break. Hello, students. Let's come back to the class. Hello, hello, Aradhya. So you were writing ticket controller dot test. Let's see how that goes. Mhm. We'll start with create ticket. Get all ticket is the most difficult one. Get all ticket is also not that difficult. Get one ticket. Yeah. Okay. These are easy cases. Uh, I'll leave out some gaps in ticket controller dot test, and you can take that those gaps as assignments of completing it. So I'll not be writing all the test cases. Uh, Again, I'll give you some assignment and try to do it on your own. Uh, for two reasons. One is, of course, the interest of time, and the second is I want you to have some practice on this. So describe, love, create ticket. There are two cases with create ticket. Either it should pass or it should fail. Let me show you the controller for ticket. Ticket controller.js. Create ticket. Hmm, What are the places where this can fail? One is, of course, if this find one fails, we have to return. One is if this find one fails, then we have to return an error, internal server error. The second is uh, second if the find mm, so there are three function calls. So there are three function calls. First is this function call can fail. Find one can fail. Second is this create can fail. Third is this find one can fail. There are three calls that are happening. Either one of them can fail. So we can dig deeper into creating for each one of them. I'll create for this find one, or this create. I'll create for this create. I'll create the test case for this create. And there are only two scenarios that can happen. One is either my formation is passed and I send 201 and I send the ticket response, or my ticket creation is failing and I send an error. Those are the two cases. So I'll discuss both of those two cases. Hmm. It should it should pass. This is something I'll discuss that in few minutes. And it why am I should fail. These are the two cases. Okay, one more thing that you need to test while testing create ticket is the fact that you are going to send some email here. Do you see that send email function? Yeah, I'll correct that spelling. Thank you, Hariharan. There is a send email function, and what you need to make sure is that the send email is actually getting called properly. So notification client is there. In this, there is a client dot post, and this function should be called. Okay. So there are a couple of things that are happening here. Let's go over them one by one. Async empty to an array. Const user. You need a user spy. It is just dot spy on user comma find one. Uh, you also need a spy on create ticket. I don't know why that is not there. Uh, new user test payload. Let's create a spy on that. This is ticket controller. Hmm. Okay. So user dot find one dot mock return value, and the mock return value is promise dot resolve user test payload. There's also const ticket spy is just dot spy on ticket comma create. This is mock return value promise dot resolve ticket ticket test payload or create test payload. Okay. So this is the new ticket that gets created. This should be ticket test payload actually, because there is a save button. So this should be ticket test payload. Okay. There's a ticket spy. There is a user spy. Also, there is going to be a const user spy, ticket spy, and client spy. What is this client spy? Just dot spy on something called as client and a post method on that client. What is this client? Let's look at that one. So there's a function called as const client, which comes from require utils utility notification client dot client. Get the client from notification client. Look at notification client once. Notification client contains a constant called as client, which is a node rest client. We get this client from uh, the notification client. We also need to export this client. So I'll just do uh, hmm. Give me 1 second. This should be exports dot send email. And this should be exports dot client, which is client. Now I save this. I go to ticket controller, and here in this I have to get send email. So far so good. I've changed this and that. Now I have the client, and I have to say whenever I post something to this client should return me a mock response. So it should return me a callback. So I'll just come here and do mock im- implementation. We'll have URL, args, and callback. Callback is going to be called with test, comma null. Excuse me. Hmm. That's how you can implement the client and the spies on three things that you are building. Now, once you have created these things, the only thing that remains is the basic function. You'll have const request is equal to mock request, comma const response is equal to mock response. You'll have request dot body is equal to ticket create test payload. Request dot user request dot body dot user ID is equal to 1. Await create ticket request comma response. Expect the user spy to have been called. Expect the ticket spy to have been called. Expect the client spy to have been called. Expect response.status to have been called with 201. Expect response.send to have been called with. Expect an object containing an assignee, which is 1. Description is test. Reporter is also 1. status, which is open, ticket priority, which is 4, and title, which is first. This is how you can test the uh, create ticket should pass test case. Let me run this test. One test case, this test case should have failed. Mm, so what people yeah, describe. Okay, this CRIB, is this the right spelling? Describe. Yeah. So I'll just run this one more time. I think somebody also told me to do it, but I forgot. All test case fast. Test suit. One test suit has failed. And which test suit has failed? Let me check. Ticket controller. Test suit run failed to run. Oh, this one. No, this one is not. This one is not. Just copy it again. One test case is still failing. Assignee is correct. Description. Description is correct. Reporter is coming as undefined. Status is coming as this. Ticket is coming as. Why is reporter coming as undefined? Mm, request dot body. Let me check the ticket controller. Where is the reporter? Mm, ticket object. Request dot body dot user ID. That's what I'm using. So ticket request dot body dot user ID. Uh, create payload. Let me remove this line. No, I need this line. Body dot user ID. Ticket dot create is returning ticket payload. Ticket response. Footer. Folder. Hmm, this should be ticket create. It should be ticket create test payload. Save and run this one more time. Yeah. So I was not returning the complete ticket on the ticket.create. So once I return the complete ticket, it is fine. So that is ticket should pass. Let's look at ticket should fail. Are you able to follow? I once had a student in my class. Whenever I asked him, so whenever I asked, so all of them used to turn on their cameras. So many students will shake their head like this if they understand. Many students will shake their head like this if they don't understand. But there was a student who used to shake his head like this, and I have no clue what it meant. He'll shake his head like this, and I will be guessing what it means. So, how many of you are shaking your head like this? Hello? Can you explain the test case create with the controller? This test case create with controller. Okay. So, what I can, that's a good idea. What I can do is, I'll just put ticket controller by the side, and let's look at both of them uh, together. But first, I want to remove these line numbers. Appearance. So is there a way I can activity bar, menu bar, panel position, panel position 9. If I click on Zen mode, what happens? No, I don't want to click on. But this is a good idea. So maybe I can put it on Zen mode. I might not be able to answer some of your questions for a few minutes. I'm sorry for that, but let me put it on Zen mode. So appearance Zen mode. So this is what the ticket create is like. First, we need a ticket object. We are passing this object in the request.body. It contains ticket create test payload. This object has title, priority, description, status, and reporter. Reporter is coming from request.user ID. So we are setting user ID as 1. And the next step is to mock this find one. We have a mock user with us. This is the mock user test payload. And what we are going to do is, uh, what we are going to do is, uh, anytime anyone calls find one, we are going to return that user only. So whether you are finding an engineer or whether you are finding a customer, I'm going to return the same user. Okay. There's a ticket spy. Whenever you create a ticket, I'm going to return you whatever ticket I have created. So whenever this create is called, I return a created ticket. There's a client spy, which is going to take care of the post method in the client, notification client. So this send email, when it sends an email, this client spy will look for that post method, and it will say, okay, I was called. So it will return a test value, and it will say that it has passed. So that's what this is happening. And then you have mock request, mock response. And to test the whole thing, there are a few things that you need to test. If it is working properly, you should have called the find one method. You should have called the ticket method. You should have called the client method. And you should have returned 201 with a object response, which is what I am looking here. So that's the whole flow of this test case. So those of you who think there was somebody in the class who was thinking uh, real developers never write test cases. It takes a lot of effort to write a test case, and it is worthwhile. So yeah, you better start writing test cases. Now you have. Is client spy in client spy why we wrote post instead of send mail? Because client spy is spying on this method. Yes. So I'm spying on this client method instead of send email method. Likit. Okay. Whenever this client dot post happens, I'm spying on that process. I'm not spying on the send email method. We are importing here notification client also. Yes, we are importing this client from notification method, which is Node REST client. Okay. I could have imported it directly from Node REST, but I imported it from specifically from notification service. I could have I could have imported it from the Node client, uh, but yeah. Anyways, this is should fail, and should it fail when either error occurs when there's an error occurs in the create a response. So this will be a async function from an empty to this one. We will again need a const user spy. I'll copy the user spy from the above code because it's exactly the same. See, control V. I also need a ticket spy, and this time ticket spy is wicked. It is going to return an error. Just dot spy on ticket create, and then you have mock implementation. There will be a callback which returns an error and null. Callback which cb new error. Um, this is an error. Yes, Vivek, and null. You know what this means? Mock function basically mocks. So, how do I explain the mock function? Suppose you are in a company, Vivek, and there is a client presentation that you have to give. How are you going to practice that client presentation? You will ask one of your colleagues to sit in front of you and give you feedback on your presentation as if they are your client. Have you ever seen that? Or maybe you want to go for a college viva, and instead of so for practicing, instead of practicing with the college professor, you ask one of your classmates to basically act as the college professor. And then the college professor, whatever question the college professor might ask, the friend might ask you. Similarly, when you do mock interviews, that is also an example of this. What happens? There is a person who is not an interviewer but sits in front of you and try to act. Is it lagging for everyone? I have a good internet. Hello. Okay. Vivek. So when you go for mock interviews, there is a mock interviewer who acts as if he is an interviewer, but he is not a real interviewer. And he gives you all the values, all the questions which are similar to the interviewer. Have you ever had that experience, Vivek? Do you get what I'm trying to make here? Hello, is it lagging? Okay, so that's what mock is about. Okay, so now imagine this function is there, which is the create ticket function. Wait, this create ticket function is going for an interview, and all these functions like user spy, ticket spy are its interviewers. Okay, so he is going to present something to user spy and ticket spy. Yeah, user dot find one and ticket dot create. but you don't have these function available to you right now during testing period. So what you do is you assume that these are the values these functions will return. So the actual call will not happen to the function, but these mock values will be returned whenever these functions are called. Okay, and then you can test your functioning for this user. Does that make sense? Hello, Vivek? Okay. What is the benefit of doing it like this instead of calling the real person? What is the benefit of having mocks instead of real values? It's practice. First is that. Second, you know what exactly you're testing. If there is an error in the user.find one, you don't care about that. I mean, so it's like if I'm coding the ticket.create functionality, I should not be worried about how user.find one is working. As long as I know what it will return me, I'm good to go. So it limits the scope of my testing to the current function instead of going into the details of other functions. That's what the importance of mock is. I hope that makes sense. Hmm. It should have been called if there is an error. The notif user. Where is ticket controller? I hate it when my windows got closed. First of all, let me check if I'm doing in the right folder. Okay. Ticket controller. If there is an error, I just return some internal server error. And I paste it here. One more weird way in which this can be good is Vivek. Suppose this user.find one function is not yet implemented in your code. It can happen that somebody else is working on user.find one and they have not yet implemented it, but they have given you how that function will work. You can still test your code by creating these mocks. Okay, this is one more benefit of having mocks for with this. Yeah, I'll save this and I'll run the test case. Test case npm this, and yeah, it is running fine. Let's look at other test cases. There's a description, describe. I'm going to describe update. This is a function empty to a function. There are two things that we need. It should pass and sync, and there is also it should fail, which is also, there are two things that can happen. There can multiple things you can think of more. There's always a gap in test cases. You can always think of more cases that you can test here, and I highly encourage you to write more test cases, more scenarios that you can come up with. In the interest of time, I barely have 45 minutes to cover a lot of things. So uh, this is going to be very similar to uh, this is going to be very similar to the ticket create pass. So I'm going to copy this code from here and I'm going to paste it here. Oh, sorry. This is not the right copy. I should copy from here. Update ticket is very similar to create ticket, so I'm going to copy the code and I'll just control this. Okay, I'll just put it back. There is user spy, which is working exactly the same. There is a client spy, which is working similarly. There is a create spy, which should actually be, instead of create, it should be find one, and that's all there is. The mock test case remains the same. The body request body should be ticket ticket test payload, and you'll need one more thing, which is request.params. You have to give the ticket ID. So I want to update this ticket, so I get ticket ID. User ID is okay. Instead of calling a create ticket, you are going to call update ticket. You want user spy, ticket spy, client spy, all of them to be called. Request result status should be 200 instead of 201. And the response should be description, reporter, status, priority, test. Okay, so everything looks fine. And that's how you can write the test case of should pass. I'll write the test case for should fail as well. Should fail is going to be very similar to uh, very similar to should fail for wait a second. Let's look at the uh, ticket controller. There's a place where uh, okay, I'm not testing the catch block here. So what I need to do is I need to check for this if condition. Ideally, I should check for the test block also, but I'm not doing it right now. Ideally this scan update should be inside a test block, try block, but yeah. So can update is the user ID that I'm looking for, and it should fail when the user ID that I'm sending uh, it should not update it when user ID is not reporter, assignee, or admin. So what I'm going to do is uh, saved user I'm sending, and it's ticket.assign. Okay. So I'm going to do here is first thing I'll write it as ticket. No, not ticket. User payload. Um, so first thing I'll do is user test payload. In the user test payload, I'll save user ID as say 5. My user is a customer, so he's not is not an admin, and his user ID is 5. Okay. Whereas the reporter and reportee, so look at here. Uh, the reporter and reportees in my ticket are 1 and 1. So if I make my user test payload as 5, then what will happen is a user should not be able to update this ticket because he has no relationship to this ticket. So first thing is I make the user test payload user ID as 5. So this user is no way associated with this ticket. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some spies. I'll have const user spy. Is just You just copy the user spy and the ticket spy. They are the exactly the same. Copy this and I paste here. I I uh, there's a once request which is mock request, and const response which is mock response. Request dot params should be equal to the ID that I'm looking for should be one, and request dot no, I don't want. That's okay. You can provide you request dot body dot user ID is equal to 5. We'll do await um, update ticket request comma response fact user. I'll just copy this two lines. User spy and ticket spy should be called. That's good. We'll have expect response dot status who have been called with 401, and expect response dot send who have been called with been called with update ticket, this one. So I'll just paste it here, save this and run the test case. Why is it failing? Await ticket dot save. Ticket save is not a function. So what? Why is this not a function? I have created it as a function. User payload. Okay, this is test payload. So I have to return ticket dot save. Just give me 1 second. Okay, update has the save. So it should be ticket create test payload. Save this and run this. Why is that failing? Mhm. Ticket save is not a function. So my ticket dot find one is returning the ticket test payload, and ticket test payload has a function. So if I in the should pass function, it is causing a problem. So I should go to should pass and send ticket test payload of ticket payload. Run this one more time. Why is this failing? Here update. Object containing assignee description test. Reporter is coming as undefined in the should pass method. Uh, I'm checking the reporter as one. So if I go to ticket controller, and I say the save. Can update saves the ticket, and then find one engineer ticket reporter. Hmm. Okay, I'll just come here, and in this ticket, create ticket test payload. I'll just define a reporter also. Reporter as one. Save this. Run this one more time. Mm, yeah. So you just have to define reporter here. So those are the create ticket and update ticket and create ticket. Let's go through the code for uh, get all ticket and get one ticket. Let me do two more. I'm running very close to the time limit, and I still have to cover the routers. I don't know why they give so many data in one class. Um, do you want to jump to the integration test, and let me just paste the test for these two cases, because it's it's going to be boring to cover each of these cases, but I will just paste the code for this. I'll read it out for you, and then if you have doubts, we can discuss them. So this is get all ticket. It should pass for an engineer. So in this engineer, you just write user type as engineer and status as open, and then you find all the arrays. And again, this is the only ticket that you should return. The return value here is just the user, and the ticket is getting returned as a single object. Yeah. So this is should pass for engineer. Similar thing will be returned should pass for customer, and you will make the user type as customer, and you will have client spy, and you will have spies for ticket spy, client spy, and you'll have mock return value also. And in this case, again, you will get back the same ticket. So this is exactly the same as the above one, but instead of engineer, you have a customer. Get all the tickets for the customer, and then you have should get one ticket. This is also not complete. There are a couple of test cases that you can also write where this pass get one ticket is failing, or there might be a case where we are not taking care of that in the update ticket, where there might be an error in the create function or other functions. So you have to take care of those cases. So update those cases, and here also get one ticket is very similar. You just return the ticket payload, look at that payload, and return the value. Nothing special. Very simple stuff. Now let's talk about the second part of this test cases, which is the router test cases. How are you going to test the routers uh, in your application? These are called as integration tests. Okay. Just open. Okay. Let me close everything. And let's look at the router. And how do you test if a router is working? So I just click on routes and I create a new auth router. Auth dot routes dot test dot js. We'll need something called a super test. This is a framework which is a little different from uh, little different from Zest framework. I think it is built on top of Zest, but yeah. So first thing I'll need to install this. So I'll just do npm I super test. I'll install the super test, and the super test got installed. Now I come here and I require super test. What is the problem here? Super test is a way of testing. Super test is a way of testing integrations in the application. So what we were doing right now, let me means yeah, I'm going to explain it with a diagram, and then it will make sense. Just give me a few minutes. So with controllers, what we were doing is we were looking at the controller as a unit entity. My unit was controller, and that too a single controller. When I was testing ticket controller, I was just checking ticket controller. When I was testing user controller, I was only testing user controller. So I have this unit. I'm mocking every input that it is getting from outside. Everything is mocked. I send a request and I get a response. This is the model of unit test case. It is like keeping a small object in a laboratory and testing its features. So that was unit testing. Take a small unit of code and try to see if it is working properly for all use cases. Does that make sense, Vivek? Is the unit testing making sense? Now, although the unit test is making sense, but we also want to check if our overall application, the whole flow of application, is making sense or not. So we have our CRM app, which deals with a DB. And there is a database, MongoDB, at the back end. Requests come to our CRM app, and the CRM app sends a response. How are you going to test the complete app? One way that you might be used thinking was to have like a postman like test, have a postman and manually test all the APIs. Have you done that on your code? You should have done. If you have coded this app, you should have done that on your app. You would have sent values on your app, and uh, you should have sent values using postman, and the app would have worked. Have you done that? Have you tested your app using postman? Going back to the Aradhya's question, the process that you are following using postman can be done using supertest. So postman you are doing manually, and supertest can do it automatically. Manually testing, automatically testing. Does that make sense? Hello? What we are going to do now is we are going to take the whole app as a unit. Yeah, I'm going to repeat the last part in other words, Aradhya. Take the whole app as a complete unit, or you can call it integrated unit. Integrate, I mean, you just call it a unit. The whole app is a unit. There's a particular kind of request that you send on a particular router, and for a router, everything should work if the DB is mocked. If you can mock the DB, if I can mock the DB, then then my app should work. It should not matter if I have a mock DB. The app should work in total. Does that make sense, Aradhya? So I'll tell you a story. Have you? How many of you have seen Rube Goldberg's? Have you ever seen a Rube Goldberg? Okay, I'll explain to you. In my college, I used to love creating Rube Goldbergs. I'll explain what a Rube Goldberg is. So you must have seen it somewhere, but you might not know the name. So just give me 1 second. Um, once I show it to you, it will become very simple. Rube Goldberg machine. Rube Goldberg was a man who used to create all kinds of machines. Okay, so I'll show you a Rube Goldberg machine. He runs this car, and a domino falls. Now all the dominoes are falling one after the other, and this is a car going, then a circle is going, and then this, and this comes here, and then these all weights come here. They go into specific holes, and there are all kinds of things that are happening. And finally, this comes here, and this comes here, and This keeps on going. And finally, park over of non-living things. That's a that's a nice analogy. So this will keep on happening. Yes, you'll explain. You'll understand what I'm trying to say. But do you see this machine? Do you understand what this machine is doing? There are so many moving parts in this machine. Do you see? Now you got the idea of what a Rube Goldberg is? Hello. Rube Goldberg is this machine. These all sequence of things that are like dominoes and these balls and these clips. There are all kinds of machines that are put together to create like a synchronicity. Okay, working in sync. There is a machine here which gives an output to the next machine, then its next machine, then its next machine, and so on. And finally, some meaningful task gets done. Do you see? This is called as Rube Goldberg. Rube Goldberg. Does that make sense, Vivek? Vivek? Hello? Do you understand what Rube Goldberg is? Hmm. Maybe his internet is lagging. What is use here? This okay, that's what I'm explaining. But have you thought how will you create a Rube Goldberg? Like if you were to create this machine, how will you create this Rube Goldberg? Like if you were the creator of a Rube Goldberg, how are you going to test that all the parts are working? Anything can go wrong. Like a ball is coming from here and hitting a target. Now that can go wrong, and anything can go wrong, and it's very difficult to test the whole machine. How are you going to test it? Any ideas? This is like one uh, one iteration through the machine takes you 15 minutes or maybe 20 minutes. It takes 20 minutes to run through the whole machine. Okay. But to set up the whole machine, it will again take you like 1.5 hours. Okay. So you cannot run integration test on the machine. You cannot test the complete machine in one go. Does that make sense? Are you able to understand that engineering problem that you are trying to solve? You have a machine which takes like 2 hours to set up. Okay. And you don't have a chance of testing it. So how are you going to test it? Why do we need this? That's what I'll connect it. Just wait for it, Vivek. Just wait for it for a few seconds. But you will understand the unit test and integration test with this concept better than anyone else can teach you. So tell me, how will you solve this engineering problem? You have a big machine, anything can go wrong anytime. How are you going to test that machine? Hello. Yeah, how are you going to test it? What process will you follow to test a machine that takes 2 hours and there are so many moving parts? Anything can go wrong. First, test each part. Exactly. So, what you need to do is you need to test this part. You need to take the input of this part, provide it by your hand. So, if a ball comes rolling into a hole, you want to roll the ball yourself. And if the output is that this is going to trigger the next event, you just keep that trigger, not the next events. You remove the next events, you just keep the trigger and see if the trigger is getting updated. So what you do is you take a part, you look its input and you look its output. If for a given input it is giving output, uh, what do you say, consistently. So I will send 5 times the input, and all 5 times I should get the consistent output. Or maybe I'll do it 20 times. I can do that very quickly. And since I have a team of 20 people, each one can test one of the parts and he can perfect each of the parts. So suddenly what you have is all the parts are working properly in their unit. Once every part is tested, you combine the machine and you test the triggers. Okay, so when I'm testing part A, I test its input and output, its trigger and its response. Similarly, when I test the next part, I'm testing its trigger and its response, and so on and so forth. But still, once you have tested the whole ticket, there is no guarantee that the Rube Goldberg will work properly. So in the final, so if there is a 20-hour challenge, so first 10 or 12 hours you will spend on unit testing. You will take each part and test it. Then maybe you will combine three parts together and test them together. And finally, just before the competition, 2 3 hours before the competition, you will test the whole machine from starting to the end and see if it is working. You see how testing a mechanical system works at different level. Now, bringing it back to the analogy of our app. Our app has many moving parts, and we can test them unit wise. We first tested uh, all the controllers. Okay, this was the unit that we tested. And finally, now we are testing the whole app. All the input, all the gateways into our app are tested by just keeping the DB as a mock. So that is the difference between unit testing, and integration testing. Do you understand this now? Hello. Hmm. Vivek, do you understand the point that I was trying to make with the Rube Goldberg machine? Something, something. Yeah. Once you build a Rube Goldberg, I mean, yeah. Okay. You don't get it, then that's okay. Aradhya, did you get it? The difference between unit testing and integration testing. Once you build a, so if you ever get a chance to build a Rube Goldberg, yeah, try to do it. It's a very fun activity. Like you will understand physics better than anyone can teach you. In I mean, you will understand mechanics better than anyone can teach you. Yeah, it's time taking. It's a You'll understand a lot of things about engineering if you build a Rube Goldberg by hand. So I'm going to create the router test cases. In this, what you need is you need the app server. So const app is equal to require dot app dot js. Is there a thing like app dot js? What is the problem? I have a app dot js. So why is this not coming? Dot dot slash slash app. Okay. In the app, I have to go and uh, export the app. So I'll just have to come here and do exports is equal to app. Save this. Go to the routers. App is there, and you have the DB. Const DB. Now, those of you who were not in one of the previous classes, this DB is different from the Dynamo DB that you have. This is a mock DB. I've created a mock DB using Mongoose memory server. This is a mocked version of the DB. It is not the real DB. You can connect to it, you can clean it, you can do all sorts of things with the DB, but it is not the actual DB. It's like a small space in your memory which is acting as the DB. Okay, so this is the required DB. Before all, before all, you are going to run a async function which will do await on DB dot clear database. And after all, async is going to run this. Here await db dot close database, and you are going to do app dot close. Is there a app dot close? App.js, app.listen. Yeah, we can close the app. Good. So now let's look at how the app will work. We'll have const API and point, which is our CRM API. Mm, okay, CRM API. Let's keep it like this. There's a test payload, const test a load, which will contain the values of a user that you want to insert. So I'll put him here. And let's look at sign in should pass. Describe post sign up. I think somebody asked me that should sign in and sign up we get request. They should be post request. I'm sorry if I've given you the wrong answer. I was not focusing on it. The sign in and sign up are actually post requests. Okay. I don't remember who asked that question, but this was somebody from this class itself. It should sign sign up async, and you'll have this. Once response is actually await request request app. See what is happening? This request, which is super task request, is going to send a post request on the app. So I just come here and do post. I'll have API endpoint plus auth slash sign up. On this URL, I want to do a post, and I'm going to send a payload test payload, whatever test payload is there. What I expect in the response is that the status code to be equal to 201, and I expect response.body to be equal to is expected to contain an object containing. You can use this request thing with Zest without a problem. The Zest framework works seamlessly with Supertest. So you can just do email is equal to test at relevel.com. You will have name. Okay, name being equal to test. You will have user ID being equal to 2. User status being equal to approved, and user type being equal to customer. I save this and I run the test cases. What happened? Did I run? Okay, this is not this one I have to run. What is the problem? One test case has failed. Which test case has failed? Uh, Middleware, JWT auth, sign up. Let me see. Yeah, sign up should pass. Post.api. Address is not a app.address is not a function. Mhm. Let me see. Request app. What is app? App is the required app. Mm, let me print this. Console.log app. I save this and I run this one more time. Mm, Control C, yes. Test. I think the problem is occurring because app. Let me see the server. Yeah, DB is a function. So actually, what is happening is this app.js, instead of exporting the app, you have to export the listen part of the app. So I will close it here and I'll just do module dot exports is equal to app dot listen. If I export this, I should be able to. Yes, control C this again. Routes, hide this. Yeah. So I have to export the app.listen part instead of app itself. And yeah, that's how you can test a endpoint. So now you're testing the exact endpoint. Now you're not going to test all the use cases. You're going, I mean, it is like just like you are not going to test the whole Rube Goldberg 20 times, because that actually is not the right way to test. You are going to test the app at few endpoints and see if the whole integration thing is working properly. Unit tests are more uh, pointed in that sense. Uh, mm, the integration test can be just on the integration of the whole app. It need not be on the entire app. Okay. This is the sign in. There will be a sign in post also, which is very similar. Actually, I can just copy the sign up, and that is going to be the sign in itself. So I'll just copy the whole thing. Uh, Control C from here and paste it. Post sign up and sign in endpoint should sign in. And for sign in, I'm just coming here and sending it to sign in process. The test request payload should be 0 to 200. And the response should contain all these things, which is correct. And that's it. That's my sign in endpoint. I save it and I try to run the sign in endpoint. Hmm. There's one error here. No. What is the error? Let me check. Why sign in is not working? Access token. You're in sign in. You are returning uh, containing object. This is very equal to. So there's this problem that there should be user type. So if I go back to my auth controller, in my auth controller, when I return for sign in, I return here it should be user type instead of user types. I save it and I run the code again. After all, like db, like db is function. Yeah, it's not, it's a hook. There's a just give me 1 second. Let me see if why is that running. Why is it crying? Email is correct. Name is correct. User ID is correct. User status is correct. Why is it expecting an object like that? Sign in should pass. Sign in. Okay, this is the controllers. So just go back to auth controller. Here I've written in sign in. I've written it as should pass. In this I have written it as types. So I have to, everywhere it should be consistent. So this is where unit tests are helpful. So what happened? My once my integration test was passing, but my controller test was failing because I have written types here. So that's one thing I have saved. Now let's talk about this one. This before all and after all and DB. What happens is before running any of the test cases in this what is it called? In this suite, this is called as a suite of packages. Okay, just provide you with some support of how to some extra things that you can do before running a suite of tests. This file, all the test cases inside this file are called as suites. Okay, before all test cases I want to clear my DB. This is the first command. Second, after all the test cases have been run, I want to close my database and I want to close my app. That's what this means. Okay, these are methods that are run at specific points. These are called as events, I guess. These are called as events which run on specific times during the testing process. Does that make sense, Nitish? You can also have a case where you want to run after each and before each. So before each test case you can run up a specific process that you want to run. So that's how you can test the whole app from starting to end. There are other test cases also for tickets, and there are test cases for users also. Maybe in the next class we'll discuss it, or maybe I'll show you the code for it. They are very similar to this case. Whatever you do with Postman, you can do with the coding itself, and that's the whole process of integration testing. Maybe I'll spend some time next class discussing the integration test for tickets and users, and that should be the end of our CRM app. There will be in the next class I will also discuss how to deploy this app online so that other people can use it on, not on localhost but on a server, so you can use my app and I can use your app, things like that. Okay, till the next class, that's it for today. Have you have enjoyed, I hope you have enjoyed the class and learned something new today. Bye everyone. Thank you. Bye. Happy weekend. Bye. Bye bye.